Welcome back to Ill Eagle Culture Brand Talks. I'm your host, John Nostos, aka Ill Eagle CEO, and I'm here with not Dion.
Not Dion.
It's
Dion
the other brother.
Yes.
My other brother.
Mr. David Woods is in the house today with us, and Cody Big Meat Malk.
Yep.
What's up, fellas?
Woods is back for the round two.
Suckers.
Yeah.
Y'all called me back. Y'all actually called me back.
Yeah. We just had some.
It was the rave reviews.
Was it?
Yeah.
Well,
Lots of hits.
I mean, your video did get quite a few views, so that's good.
I'm kind of popular.
You know, I like to bring you on because there's a lot of topics where you and I go back and forth on, and you know, some of them we don't agree on, some of them we do, but you know, before we get started, I just want to say that these two gentlemen I have tremendous amount of respect for. They both have mentored me basically my entire life, and you know, this guy over here took over mentoring me when I was younger and in high school, and brought me out brought me out of a lot of shit.
A lot.
You know, John took over when I came to the gym in 2015. So, you know, I have a tremendous amount of respect for both of you gentlemen. I just wanted you to know that before I, you know, destroy you in the debates that we're gonna have.
Yeah, okay. I think Kate thinks us both. What you become, because holy bucket. Jeez.
Could have been bad. Could have been bad. Yeah.
I'm at such a late stage, I don't know if I would take credit for who you are yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're still a work in progress.
We are a work in progress, yeah. I'm only 34, so you know.
So what is this big debate that you want to have with Woods about?
Oh boy.
Okay, so
has he told you anything about what he plans to discuss?
I think he told me a little bit.
He gave you a little heads up to get ready.
He gave me a little bit of heads
okay.
up, but
all right, we could start out by you. What is your opinion? Okay, so in North Dakota, the LGBTQ shit that passed in North Dakota, correct? Where if for the
it
school
was like
system,
34 things.
okay, but we're gonna be covering the LGBTQ shit.
Yeah,
So
no, it was 34 things
34
for that.
things
It was like
pertaining to-
34
Okay.
different things. I mean, it was absolutely crazy.
Okay. Now, what is your opinion about that?
About what?
I don't know.
See,
Everything that's
here's the
fast.
thing with our debates, right? So I don't really ever give him the answer that he wants because it's like I try to frame it so he understands what's actually going on. And then when I do that, then we can have our debate. So, I mean, it's general with all the LGBTQ stuff. Here's my overall thought process on this and other laws is that I want to have an informed legislator. I want a legislator that's informed, that knows what's going on, that goes out in the streets and starts asking the questions, some of them hard, some of them not so hard, and just admit their ignorance and go out and figure out what they need to know. A lot of the laws that pass, I mean, I'm not for them, I'm not against them. Like I truly don't care. What I care about is that when a law is passed, when I ask my legislator, why did you do that? And what proof, what data did you have to make those decisions? And they kind of just shrug their shoulders. I mean, that pisses me off.
Sure.
So a lot of times, because it's a CRT bill, it's the LGBTQ bills. I mean, these are people you're talking about. At the end of the day, these are people that you're talking about. So when they make laws about schools and never ask the school, never gather data on like what the ripple effect of those decisions are, I can't get down with that.
So what are some of the negatives that you saw in the LGBTQ bill that was passed?
Well, it was just the fact that, you know, administrators, counselors, and teachers have to work with these kids, and they have a responsibility to teach these kids no matter what they are. Like, it doesn't even matter, right? When a legislator doesn't ask, then what they're doing is, and this is the crazy part, what they're doing is trying to get local control out of there.
Mm-hmm.
like banning books. We already have policies on that.
Yeah.
Why are we doing an overarching thing? Why are we doing this? We're doing it because they're ignorant and they didn't realize that you can walk into a school and say, I don't know if I approve of this book. And there is literally a process that you go through. And number one is you have to read the book, right?
Yeah.
Nope. We're just going to do a state ban and we're going to make language that is harmful, language that in some cases could take the Bible out of school. Yeah. And that's crazy, right?
They've done that already.
Well, yeah. But like people can go in and read it if they want to. You know what I mean?
Right.
And now they put that at risk. So going back to the other subject, you know, these kids come to the counselors and they come to the teachers and they got real issues, right?
Mental issues.
Some mental issues, some not. Like some of these kids are just straight, like they're okay with who they are, right? But maybe people at home aren't okay with who they are. Mm-hmm. So they go and talk to the counselor, and the counselor has all these rules on what they can say to this student. And all they care about is making this student whole, making this student okay. Because that's really all we care about. Is the student okay for education? When they come into school, are they hungry? Are they mentally not there? Are they, because all these things, once you start eating away at the power of the counselor to say like, okay, are you okay? We can talk. We can go get you resources. Then we got real problems because these kids have no place to turn to.
But if you mispronounce their gender, then you're going to get in trouble.
That's not true though.
Right?
No.
Wasn't that a part of the bill that they didn't they didn't have to use their pronouns and they wouldn't get in trouble for it?
The school didn't have to use the pronouns, and I believe the school didn't have to use the pronouns, and they could not face repercussions for not using the pronouns, right? Where was that a thing? What school?
In the school?
What school?
All of them?
No.
I don't know.
No. But see, that's what I mean when I say I have to frame it, because it's like, where did that happen? Let me know. Where a student went after a teacher in North Dakota for misgendering them.
It could have been. It doesn't necessarily mean that it happened in North Dakota. It could have been a nationwide thing.
And I'm glad you said that. So some of these laws and some of these policies that are coming down are from other places. How dangerous is that? When education is a state's right and your politician is looking at Minnesota and governing in North Dakota. Mm-hmm. And that's part of the problem. That's part of what's happening.
I think part of the reason why we see that, though, is because of how infectious the bullshit policies from one state to the next have been in especially the last 3 years, but the last decade for the majority. We've seen what happens in Minnesota translate over to the next, so where they're looking and saying, okay, if they're doing that over there, and I think this is what they've always done. It's just not now the things they're doing it around are absurd.
There are politicians where you can go back and they will say, we're not going to let these other states dictate what we do. Right.
But that's still the same process of looking into another state. They're just making a determination, yes or no.
So now, why did they flip the switch? Because education is a state's rights. Okay, they're doing that in Minnesota.
Right.
But Minnesota got different policies, people. I mean, people travel from state to state based on the policies. We're starting to see that in the LGBTQ community. Yeah. Like, I'm not putting up with this. I'm going to Minnesota. Mm-hmm. I'm not putting up with this. I'm going to California, right? And that's always how it's been. That's always how policy and the migration of people, that's how it's been.
But certain aspects of it are at an all-time high now.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's
correct. And it's more visible because like I can go on social media and say this is wrong and this is why I'm moving.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, like when it comes to kids in schools though, is there like a policy from where you guys stand in terms of like an age of accountability or something where a kid is actually of like sound mind. and maturity and education and things of that nature to actually make these decisions? Because like when we were kids, we were certain we were skaters. We were certain we were gangbangers.
Right.
We were certain we were, X, Y, Z. And as we matured and got older, our minds changed.
Right.
And what we're doing is we're taking away the opportunity for their minds to change by saying, yes, cut your dick off. Mm-hmm. We support that.
Right.
And you don't got to tell your parents and we'll back you.
Right.
So we're not giving them opportunity that we're pretending we're giving them as if though we care so much, because at some point somebody has to be the adult and say, everybody's tripping right now.
Right. And like, that's the thing. Like, it's weird. How far will you let the government go into your parenting or your household? This is the thing that's crazy to me, is that I look at everything by control.
Yeah.
Is the federal government trying to supersede the state government? Is the state government trying to supersede the local government? It's funny how we were so mad about COVID in the state government dictating what local governments do, federal government dictating what state governments do. Right. But we don't look at other issues that way, right? So how far, okay, they're gonna cut their penis off, right? Okay, fine. Who's in local parentis? Who's the parent? And when are we gonna start taking rights away from the parents? Because it starts there, but it's coming to you. You know what I'm saying? Like this, it's like, what? I spank my child, gone. I let them have surgery or whatever, gone. So it's those rights that I'm a little leery about. Like I don't look at singular issues ever, and that pisses me. That pisses people off. That pisses my students off. Like they ask me a question, I'm like, Socrates over here with my philosophical bullshit, and they because I don't tell them answers, right? I give them choices, and I get same thing I did with you, like, yeah, you could do that, but how about we try this? But you could do that, and there's no right or wrong. There's just results. My question to you with that is, how far does the government get to go into your home and say what is right, what is wrong? I get it. It is alarming. Parts are being cut off. Decisions are being made. Hormones are being given. I understand. But if the child and the parent make that determination,
that's different.
But what if the parents don't know?
I think that's different. If me and my kid sat down together and we had a discussion, and I strongly believed in the necessity for whatever it is my child is going through, that's a completely different situation.
Okay.
But now, if my kid is just a badass kid at home and nobody notices that at school, and I have one of those, right? Respectfully, I do though. You know what I mean? He's a badass kid. Like when he's at home, he's under strict control and watch, man.
Right.
When he goes to school, he fucks off and does whatever he wants, and the schools don't do anything about it, right? So the concern would be he goes to school and he's got everyone convinced that he's sad and lonely and all this weird shit's going on. But the reality of it is he doesn't have a cell phone. You know what I mean? He's not allowed to play video games and all because he's been fucking up. He's not sad and lonely. He's not abused. He's not tortured. He's disciplined.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if he goes to the school and he convinces the school counselor that life sucks at home and it's hard, and he actually thinks he's a woman and wants to cut off his genitalia, and he wants some support to do that, and the school district or the teachers or the hospitals or anybody, the politicians assist him with that, and there is no need for parental consent, that's where the issue arises.
See, I don't know if there's ever a case where it's like no parental consent.
There is.
I think
they made it law in a couple states.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I see. Here's the thing.
We're not speaking just on North Dakota.
Okay.
At least I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm speaking in general.
Okay.
But the fear is everything's making its way across, and that's broad spectrum.
Right. And I get that, because that's how it's been for centuries. I mean, that is politics. Like one state influences the other or whatever. But that's why we have the beauty of checks and balances, right? Like North Dakota is a red state, right? So there's certain things that just aren't going to happen because that's not part of the fabric of North Dakota. I mean, I see that happening, but we're in a part now where certain things happen in blue states that won't happen in red states. Within the red state, there are certain cities that are blue that might want something to happen, but like the state is red overall. So I think number one beauty of America is the checks and balances. You know what I'm saying? And what
do you mean by that?
Well, if
Republican, Democrat.
Yeah, and like veto and all those powers or whatever. The government is not perfect, but like it's damn good. You know what I mean? And it serves its purpose. So I'm always that's my thing. I'm always leery about painting that stroke because I know that education is the state's right. And since California has the right to their education, they're going to make different determinations than what North Dakota is going to do. I think, and that's why I think it's really dangerous when we look over at California and we're like, oh crap, that's going to come over here. Because
well, I respect that the way your point of view is on that, and I think there is truth to that with certain policies within government, right?
Right.
But I think if you're paying attention, you can see that the government is clearly trying to make this blanket policies and rules across the board, like they did with COVID when it was supposed to be the state's decision.
Right.
The federal government stepped in, was like, well, there's some things we're just going to make the fucking call on,
right?
And they shut down my business personally. I know, and the government. It was the Surgeon General who told my gym merchant to shut us down.
Right.
Not the local government.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It was the federal government that went to them and said, for every gym in the country that you guys control, you need to turn them off.
And so what was the result of that?
Mayhem.
A lawsuit.
For some not. Some people lost their businesses. Some people lost their livelihood.
Yes. And that's,
I mean, so it was, but so like, I get what you're saying about policies and I get like from state to state and then that in the education system being state governed or whatever. Yeah. But our president, as he stands, is currently trying to make this stuff right and say, oh, we're protecting gay rights and your kids should be able to have naked transvestites dancing in their school quad and at lunchtime, and like they're supporting the bullshit that some of these democratic states are pulling right now, like California, Minnesota, stuff like that. So
what does your government say
in terms of
state? In terms of all that, the federal government.
Well, I get where it stands right now, but I'm not only concerned about the people that live in my state.
Yeah,
I'm concerned about people across the board.
As a whole beat,
and
as a nation, I'm concerned about the way we live. Because other nations are looking at us right now and laughing at us, and saying how weak and pathetic we look right now, and that our government has overthrown us and betrayed us at a high level.
Yeah, for all kinds of reasons. Yeah.
So, but a lot of weird, like I get what you're saying, I totally agree. Like it's always been this way,
right?
But it used to just be about stupid political stuff. Now they're making it very personal and very dangerous,
right? And
with some of the policy, the decisions, and the things that they're backing. It's weird, you know.
And I get that, and that's why. I mean,
hold on, I don't mean to cut you off, but check this out. Go. So they had the Gay Pride Festival at the White House.
Yeah,
and there was a bunch of transvestites there.
Okay,
and the transvestites took off their clothes.
Yep,
and they got banned.
Correct,
but you won't get banned from elementary school if you do that.
Like somewhere in the United States,
somewhere, yeah. Okay. There's multiple places.
Well, see, and here's the thing. I don't know. It's hard for me to kind of speak on that because I don't know.
Like the drag queen story, story hour that they have. These. Weirdo.
And that's out west.
I mean,
you know what I mean,
and that's happening all over.
And that's the thing is like here's what I rest my laurels on. Like I go into government not to control, but I go into government to like understand what the fabric of my community and my state is. Mm-hmm. And I have relatives that live out on the East Coast and things like that. But what I know is that's the reason why I live in North Dakota.
Right.
You know what I mean? I live in North Dakota because of the Midwestern values, right, wrong, or indifferent. And I think that when God gave choice, he said, if you don't like it, you can move. It may not be fair. It may not be right. But some people are just making that decision to move out to California or Minnesota or whatever for all kinds of reasons. Like some people move out because the benefits, like mental health benefits and stuff, are better in Minnesota. Like they move for all kinds of reasons, right? I just go back to when people make policy.
So you're about, if you don't like it, move.
Kinda. To a point.
What's the stopping point of that?
I don't know.
Because that's one of, and I know this personally, but that's one of the big statements that people make when they get called racist.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
oh, if you don't like it in this fucking country, get out of here.
Yep.
I stand by that. I think that's awesome. I don't give a fuck if you're white, black, whatever. If you come to this country, you should respect this country's politics, this country's patriotism,
right?
You know, our ways. But I do believe as well, our ways are to include other people and to welcome and celebrate their religious beliefs and their, you know, heritage and stuff like that. So that's part of what makes us great. The problem is we're trying to do away with ours to let them have theirs.
See, so the thing with that for me is when I said, okay, I didn't say what the line was, but I think that when you start to become part of government, there you can make the change. So someone tells me, hey, you don't like it in this town, you can go to a different town. And I'm like, well, that doesn't seem fair. So then I become Councilman Woods. And I'm here. And now my voice is heard.
Yeah.
And that's how it goes. There are certain people who will say like the government is like being infiltrated or whatever. I think a lot of times what people are missing is that
I'm wondering why Cody is so fucking quiet over here.
Dude, I've been trying to get a word in for the whole
I think what people are missing is that they can participate in government.
Yeah.
They can participate.
Some people can.
Some people can.
Until they get
I mean, anyone has the opportunity. And
You're talking about like, hey, you can come in and make a change. Well, how many times does that happen? And then if it
was that simple, Trump wouldn't be where he's at right now.
And then they get in like
it's that simple. That Trump is there because of that. He didn't like it.
Right. No, what I'm talking about with the position that he's in at the moment, where the government that he became a part of to try to implement change has fucking done everything in their power to destroy this guy and deface him. And the image that he once carried is the complete opposite of what they're trying to paint him like. So it's not that simple anymore. Okay. I believe there was a time where it was, and I'm sure that's what led you down the path. Right? I just feel like in recent times, and I think that's what we're speaking to, is like things that are currently happening.
Right. Because
I believe you, like pre 2020, man, we were in a pretty fucking good place. Even pre-Trump, we were doing all right. You know what I mean? It wasn't as fucking crazy and bad as things are today.
Right.
I also think that our awareness and our ability to see what's going on a broader spectrum has been more heightened with the internet and social media and stuff. So it might seem like things are bigger than they once were too.
Right.
But I do know for a fact that it's just a fucking mess right now. And government's not government. You know, you can say get into politics and help implement change, but that doesn't always really fix the problem, because you still have to be able to have a voice and actually do something about it and not just hold a title. And in most case scenarios, some people can become fucking president and still not be able to fucking do anything about it. So that's a very powerful fucking piece of the puzzle is like, you can become part of government. You could become president and really make some fucking change. But we had a president try that and they're fucking eating the dude alive right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here's where I'm coming from.
Okay.
It's not just the LGBTQ shit that is concerning to me. It's not just, it's, you know, you're talking about like stuff that, you know, only affects North Dakota, but in the nation, I think we can all agree that mental health is at an all-time fucking low. So for me, you know, being a recruiter in the Guard, I'm traveling around to all these different schools.
Right.
You know, when I was in high school, of course, every high school has those weird kids that run down the hallway and the goth kids, whatever. But I can tell you positively that every school that I've been to, I have never seen so many freaking different, like, you know what I mean? Like those different weird kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in the last, and this happened within the last like few years, obviously. And the lockdowns crushed us. TikTok is currently fucking crushing us. And so now all of these kids, majority of these kids are either on anxiety medication, depression medication. You know, they don't know what fucking sex they are, and they can't pass the fucking ASVAB. There's these kids that are graduating and they score a 3 and a 6 on the ASVAB.
Right.
Now that is very concerning to me. So That's where I'm coming from. I feel like we are focusing more on what these kids want to identify as, whereas mental health is kind of taking a back seat, and their education. Now, I'm not speaking. I know Wapton's kind of up there with test scores, correct?
I'm gonna say yes.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say yes.
Well, I think you told me like Wapton's test scores are really high.
Our test scores are awesome.
And so
could be better.
That's what I'm saying is, I feel like we are 100% being attacked through social media and TikTok, especially.
Yeah. The education is low right now for people.
We saw a massive spike in kids taking medications. And this is off of our own slide. So in fiscal year 2021, when we're recruiters, we have to have waivers for pretty much everything. There's something wrong with somebody, we have to have a waiver for them. Like it could be medically, it could be law violations. We have to submit waivers, right? So these behavioral health waivers that came out in our fiscal year 2021, we submitted 900. And this is nationwide, 962 waivers. Fiscal year 2022, we submitted 1,567. That's plus 605 over the last fiscal year. And fiscal year 2023 through April 30th is 2,028. 2,928. So you can see where I'm coming from. There's a rapid fucking incline on obviously mental issues. Right. And like I said, I can maybe throw a rock and I can hit 10 kids, 10 kids that are on some type of medication.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So there is a drastic something that's going on right now with mental health, and it's not just kids. I mean, it's adults too. Like I said, I think the lockdowns absolutely fucking crushed us.
So that's like where I would start. You know what I mean?
But I mean, and you can't just ban TikTok. I don't think that's ever going to happen, right? And they're probably never going to ban TikTok.
It's happening all over the place.
But you know that TikTok is owned by China, correct? Do you know that?
Yeah, I mean, they go back and forth. They go back and forth because I was watching that hearing. Yeah. They go back and forth on that. But
so do you know the videos that China has playing on Chinese students is like engineering, electrician, military.
Yeah,
that's all the videos that they watch. Whereas like these kids
our algorithms set up a lot.
Oh yeah,
Right.
Are you feeling like a woman today? It's a completely different algorithm. But these kids are so. I saw some type of post. These kids are spending like 5 to 6 hours a day on their phones.
That's low.
Scrolling through shit.
That's low.
Yeah. So, and like I said, I'm not saying that. I just feel.
In fact, I heard UND just did that.
What's that?
That they just banned TikTok from being used on their networks, and the students are in an uproar right now about it.
I wish I would have known that. Yeah. I was at UND just now.
They banned TikTok.
Oh, really?
From being used on their networks,
on their servers.
On their servers, and the kids were in a uproar saying it was violating their civil rights and all this show. There's all this whoopla going on.
They're so
right
addicted to TikTok that
so they are like, it is again a state by state thing and a district by district thing. It's also like just a business to business thing and school to school thing, but they are slowly but surely going around and getting to the point of banning it because, man, hacking is at an all-time high right now too.
Big time.
Like big time. Like big companies are being hacked and servers shut down and websites destroyed and taken offline where you can't bring them back. Like, so businesses are being attacked. And I think this is just like we talked about last time. This is either China, and we're obviously at war and we're seeing some digital warfare and stuff happening. Or it's just our corrupt government pretending it's China and making that power grab.
They're all for all of this LGBTQ shit. You know what I mean? They're all for it. So that's where I just feel like education's taking a backseat. And I'm not saying Wapton. That could be completely different.
I know what you're saying.
But it just pisses me off.
General.
It pisses me off when I see
science isn't real anymore.
Well, the thing, one of the things is education has taken a backseat
for a while.
The home.
For a while too.
In the home. You know what I mean?
Without a doubt, you're right.
It's taking a backseat in the home. We don't have the type of parents overall, and I'm painting the general brush, which I hate to do, but we don't have those parents that are going to say, give me your phone. you're done.
True.
You're done. Okay. So if you're consuming your information primarily through social media, you got problems. Your problems are bigger than what you can even know, because yes, they can tell you whatever you want.
Yeah.
They can show you whatever they want. Right. So we're living right now. It's education versus instant gratification.
Right.
I mean, that's what it is. Why do I need to learn what a noun and a verb and all this other stuff is when I can just look it up online? And that's like a serious thing that's going on. So
that was also something Einstein said back in the day.
Right. Isn't it
why
crazy?
memorize something I could look up?
I mean, if you and I was a student of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, if you read books, and this is part of the issue too. We don't read enough, because if you read books, some of the classics, 1984. I mean, that we're there.
Yeah.
Anthem, we're there. You know what I mean? It's these books that are just telling us what's going to happen, how we're going to consume information. I mean, in the book, it says there are people who erase words, and they erase parts of history. That was said in the 60s, and it's happening. So we're not consuming our information. You're totally right. My son, he loves to watch YouTube videos, dinosaurs, all that other stuff, and there's a place for that. But then when I give him a book, he gets a little ticked off. And I thought to myself, like, okay, I'm falling into that trap. Instead of parenting my kid, instead of saying,
it's just easy.
It's just so
Here,
much
go watch a
easier
YouTube
to do
video.
it. So then you take that kid that has all the information in his head swirling. He or she does not know how to file it. And then put everything that like media, TV, MTV, music, all that stuff is going through their head, and they don't know how to file it. Why wouldn't they have some type of identity crisis? And I'm not just talking about LGBTQ. I'm talking about race, sex, origin, gender. It does not matter. They have all these things going on in their head, and they can't find a person to talk to about it, to help them file it. I mean, Cody, that was you. You know what I'm saying? Like you had all these, like you were a troubled kid because you like to experiment. You like to experiment with feelings. You like to experiment with matches. You like to, you know what I mean? And so all I did was let you talk and say, hey, are you talking about this? Are you talking about this? Because it sounds like this is, and if we can do that for our kids, like we're not doing that for our children across the board. We're not helping them file any of these details. We're just telling them what's wrong and what's right. And we don't need to do that because children are brilliant, right? They need to go out and experiment. Now they can't go crazy and experiment, you know what I mean? But they need to go out and they need to search the world. I told my class the other day, and I'm rambling, but I told my class right before we left, we read this book. It was Trevor Noah's book. And he said, you know, it's easy to make your ideas. It's easy to form your opinions. This is not verbatim. It's easy to make your ideas. It's easy to form your opinions when everyone else thinks like you. So much easier. But when you step out somewhere, when you go to Kosovo, things are different, right? My daughter just came back from Ireland. Things were different. Said, you don't have the same rights you have. Learn how these other people live and then come back. We don't have that anymore. We don't have children who can explore. We don't have children who can file things in their head. We don't have children who can express their feelings without violence. We don't have children.
So how do you fix that identity crisis if all these kids are losing their minds because they don't know who they are?
Mentorship. Like, honestly, men got to step up. Men got to step up. You got to take kids that are in your neighborhood and be that dude.
What if you don't believe in men?
What do you mean?
What if you're talking to people that don't believe in men?
Well,
then who steps up?
Oh, I see what you did there. Okay. So I'm just saying in general, men, how I define it, okay, how me personal define it, we just need to step up. And realistically, it's the women too. You know what I mean? Because they got to have both sides. And there's some, love it or hate it, there's some stereotypical things that happen between a man and a woman. There are stereotypical jobs. There are stereotypical, and like we're tearing down those walls, and I get it, but there is just certain things. You know what I mean? So,
there's also certain things that are just in that category, though. You know what I mean? So like, to my point of saying like, what if you don't believe in that? Is that it's now we actually have to go through all that stuff. Though before it was just a matter of figuring out like, mom, dad, got to have a discussion. You got to do this, whatever. Now you literally have to decipher between a whole bunch of different variables before you can even get anywhere. So now it's like, well, how do I talk to this kid? And what does this kid believe in? What does this kid think? Who are they? What do they identify as? You know, am I going to be disrespectful if I say man or woman? Am I, you know what I mean? So there's all these different variables now that we got to play with as humans. And I think that's, at least from where I stand, that's the biggest issue that we're seeing, is that it's not straightforward anymore. It's not clear cut and dry. And the other thing is, on the opposing end, they're trying to make it look like it's bad to not be them. Okay. You know what I mean? So if you don't believe, like I saw an article in a school, and I don't remember exactly where it was, but it was Gay Pride Day they were having at their school, and they were asking all the kids to wear rainbow color everything.
Now, do you agree with that?
And a whole bunch of kids said, no, we're not going to do it. And they showed up wearing the USA colors, and they were saying, my pronouns are USA.
Oh, I did read that.
You know, but they were doing this because the school put posters up all over the place that said nothing is straight, even a heart has curves.
I saw that.
And so now it's like they're trying to, they're indoctrinating, whether anyone wants to admit it or not. That's indoctrination when a school implements that stuff. So now it shouldn't be a matter of, well, if you don't like that move, it's like, no, I can move to the next state over, but I'm still in fucking America.
Right.
And that shouldn't be happening in America. It's okay to be gay. It's okay to be black. It's okay to be white, which they're trying to tell us it's not right now. But it's okay to be all this shit, bro. Like, it really is. But it's not okay to indoctrinate people with it.
Or tell people you're wrong.
Right. Yeah, you know, like, it's not okay to go down that route. And I think that's the biggest issue. Is like they're holding us, you know, the bad guy for saying no more. This is enough's enough. Leave our fucking kids alone and just go live your life, and we'll live our life. But yet on the other hand, they're like, you guys are bad people. You shouldn't be here. White is wrong. And you know what I mean? You're anti-gay and you're this and that. It's just like, no, I'm actually logical.
And to answer your future question, Cody, I believe in choice. I believe in choice. So if those kids said, no, I'm not going to go with that, I'm going to go with USA, that's perfectly fine.
I'm asking you about the school doing that. What do you feel about the school having a gay
I feel
pride
it's
day?
wrong because they didn't give kids choice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They didn't give the kids choice.
That's what it's about. It should be about choice. I like that.
When
it was a middle school, right? It was a middle school.
I can't remember. I did read it. I can't remember. But when they say something that.
Hold on. Why are they having a fucking gay pride day at a middle school? Those kids don't know what the fuck is going on in their life.
I'll tell you why. It's an attempt. And I know this is going to be like a bad word. I was still
flicking boogers at girls in middle school.
I know.
He said, I know.
I know. Like, this is an immature guy, right? Yeah. Okay.
Dude, I can't help it.
So
slow developer.
So one of the things is, you know, like, why, I forgot your question. Why can they do that? Or why would they do that? Why would they do that?
Why do schools think that that's okay?
Because they want to be inclusive.
Exactly.
And inclusive is not a bad word.
Like I said,
I don't like how sometimes people make inclusivity
we're getting fucking killed out there with, like, compared to, you know, education, military, everything. We're getting fucking killed right now.
Who's
United States
is getting killed in education and military. Now, see, okay, here's the thing. That's like a totally different subject, because that's based on a test that was straight up bullshit, and everyone knows that. Like the PISA test, that was bullshit. Everyone knows that. But here's my thing. Inclusive is not a bad word. What we're starting to do now is we're starting to get key terms and make them bad. Woke?
Woke.
Woke is a bad word? Are you kidding me?
Now, right? It's crazy.
I mean, we know what that meant.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, you walked out of the movie when the movie Malcolm X came out. Woke was big.
But see, now this is the infiltration discussion, because this is like it's like the government. They gaslighted black issues in 2020. Now they're gaslighting gay issues. So it's them who does it, bro.
Yeah, we're attacking gay people.
It's our government who's doing that. You know what I mean? So like and to your point of like, we can get into government and make change, man. There's people who don't want this in government and they're losing heavy.
Yeah, I get it, because part of the reason why they're losing is because they have no backing. You know what I mean? It's like,
because the people that are actually in power are controlling everything.
Right, but it's kind of
how much money do you think those companies that are doing the gender transition, how much money do you think they're making?
Like the hospitals,
doctors, whatever.
I have no idea.
Counselors, fucking medical staff.
I have no idea.
Oh, I bet you they're making a killing.
They probably are.
Just like all the pharmaceutical companies that made fucking billions and trillions of dollars.
I do not doubt that in the least bit.
Why do you think they're pushing so hard?
For what?
For these kids to go in and get transitioned.
See, I can't say that, because that's a broad statement. You're saying these kids to get transitioned. Like, where is this legal? Like, what?
California.
Where's California?
But I don't think it's about it being legal. It's about the push to try to normalize it, though. It's not just in one city that's happening, or just one state that's happening. The push to normalize it is on a federal level. It's coming from the government. It's all over the country. There's people who live in North Dakota who stand behind that and marched for it just recently. You know what I mean? So it's not just to one demographic. It's everywhere. It's just some places it hasn't been made law.
My question is, where's your line? Because when we talk about, different current events, right? When we talk about current events,
my line is when they turn 18.
Well, I'm saying when we talk about current events, we like to do this. We like to dabble. Okay, but what about this? Okay, but what about this? Okay, but what about this? And I get it, but we can never paint everything with one brush. We just can't. And it's not even fair to do it, because it's a fallacy in argument to do that.
Right.
Like, you can't just say like, we're losing, but Wapaton's okay. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like that. It's not like that. It is where you are. But here's my other thing. What happened with Live and Let Live? What happened to that? I understand that on both sides, people are crazy. We are starting, the middle people are starting to fight amongst each other.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that was part of the divisive plan.
Right. That's crazy. Why are we falling into it? Like,
the government's using divide and conquer against us.
Right?
Yeah,
and
they are.
They made everything pie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, diversity is not pie.
Yeah. They said supremacy is wrong. Black people should be supreme. White people should all die. You know what I mean? Like, they do everything backwards is what they're doing right now, and I mean it with every ounce of my being. It's gaslighting.
And we fall for it because we're not we didn't educate ourselves well enough to know that someone wrote a dystopian novel about this and told us what was going to happen. Yep. Like we teach this in schools. That's how you know education it takes a backseat, because it's like, wait, what are you talking about? We teach this in school.
It's like the book that I was telling you that Parker was reading, and then we all watched that movie on. I can't remember the fucking movie now, but it was about like this dystopian, era where like everyone was the same. There was no color. Like literally everything was black and white. They turned off this thing in their brain through some shot they were giving them. So people didn't have emotions. There wasn't love. There wasn't all that. It was just weird. Everyone was equal.
Here's a crazy thing.
What was missing from that movie? There was no black people.
Here's
no
the
color.
Crazy thing. There's a story. Harrison Bergeron, right? Yeah. It's the same thing. Like they're not even original with movies anymore. Right, like I can't even go to the theater because I'm like, damn, Romeo and Juliet. I know how that's gonna end. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's a story, Harrison Bergeron, and they had the handicapper general, right? The person who takes away ability. You can't have special abilities because that puts you over. I mean, doing that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're taking creative right and choice away from people and then telling everyone else, that person over there, they're trying to do that. And soon it's going to be your family that it's going to happen to. And you're like, what? Oh, hell no. I can't stand that. Yeah. So now I
hate the American flag now.
We're just, you know what I mean? Like we're just doing this over nothing. Like realistically, and this is going to be unpopular and I like it, but realistically, if a kid transitions, the hell is it to you? What the hell is it to you? Unless that kid, and I get to your point, unless that kid says that I do this, and if you don't do this, then you're a bigot or whatever. Then it's like, okay, kid, you gotta. And I think in the past we saw
evidence of what you're saying is like people have been doing this, the sex changes and all that stuff forever. And none of us ever blinked an eye, and we were just like, whatever, they're doing their fucking thing. The problem with it now is that what you just said, though, it's that they are saying, hey, fuck you if you don't like this. I'm going to turn your kid. And, you're hearing all these crazy talk from crazy people. Now that's what, but I think that's what the issue is right now. The issue right now is that it is happening, and they are pushing it on all of us to be accepting of it. And that, in fact, we should stop fucking seeing genders, because that doesn't make sense. And men can have babies, but none of them can explain why or how. So like when it comes to education, and the schools are supporting this, in a lot of places, and they're just saying, we won't do that. I go on, I see meetings with my kids' schools, in Moorhead and in North Dakota. And, you'll go on, with counselors or, therapists or in anything in local office. And they'll get on a Zoom, because that's the really popular way to meet right now. And they'll have their titles. They'll say, she, her, he, him. They'll like put their pronouns on there now. It's teachers and people doing that shit.
But why? Why is that bullshit?
Dude.
Why? No, seriously. Why is that bullshit?
Because we're supposed to be educating, but instead we're being educated as the educators and saying, oh yeah, that nonsensical bullshit that you believe in, we'll support that, even though scientifically speaking, there's no fucking factual grounds there.
Okay, so a couple of things. Number one, like sometimes there's just philosophical beliefs that are different. You know what I mean? Like some people, like I believe that gender is psychological and sex is biological. I believe that. I do. I have a right to believe that, and that's fine. Some people don't. And therein lies some of that argument. You know what I mean? The she, her title thing.
Well, how many genders do you believe in?
I don't.
Or do you say there could be?
I don't even go down.
No, but when you say you believe gender is psychological, does that mean that there could be more than two genders in your mind, and people have a right to believe that?
Honestly,
or what do you say?
I say that people have a right to believe what they want. Live and let live. I don't give a damn.
Right.
Live and let live. But like biologically, now that's sex.
True.
And we have a different understanding there.
Psychologically speaking, if your daughter played against a bunch of male basketball players and they completely dominated her ass and kept her from succeeding because she was playing against the wrong gender, what would you think about that?
Well, I wouldn't be in that situation, which I'm not.
Why not?
Do you see?
No, but why wouldn't you?
Well, I'm not in that situation.
What if she goes off to some college in a state where they allow that stuff?
Well, colleges are different because they're federal, right? Mm-hmm. So, yes, I would not be happy with that at all. At this point, there's very little I can do about it.
Right.
There are accepted policies. There's very little I could do about it. Students are now choosing their college where they perform at because of that. I mean, we're just, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where I'm like, okay, dude, listen, you are who you are, and that's fine. Just as long as, to your point, you don't get to tell my kids that this is how they have to be. So a couple of things that are being mixed up here. Okay, the students, when they're in school, right, and the school tells them that today is Gay Pride Day, right? Is that not discrimination?
Towards straight people?
Yeah,
it is.
It's a lawsuit.
Because there's no straight Pride Day.
It's a lawsuit, right?
There's not a straight Pride festival either.
It's a lawsuit and it's a challenge.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like we don't use what we have. That is a lawsuit and a challenge. Like, what do you mean? You told my kid that he has to dress in rainbow colors. You can't. That's discrimination. You know what I mean? That's simple discrimination. There are lawyers who would love to fight that. Whether it.
What about government officials then who are blatantly out loud on national television saying that white are wrong right now and that white people should be done away with and that there's a big issue with whites? Like, isn't that the same concept? It kind of
is, but like there's variables in that. You know, I would have to know the context of what's going on to fully understand it, because I mean, a lot of politicians, that's what they banned CRT on. It was telling white kids that it's not okay to be white. You know what I mean? So that was their belief going forward. But CRT was never taught in North Dakota. Ever. It was never taught. Not even in the college level. And when I ask, no one can define it. No one can define it. When I ask politicians,
no one can define CRT.
No one could define it.
I tried to look it up, dude. It was so confusing.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I didn't understand it. I was like, all right, I give it.
And you know what it is? It's a lens. It's a lens to look at law.
Let's hold on. Pause.
Period.
Before I lose this.
Okay.
My deal is God doesn't make mistakes. So God does not make mistakes, right? So if a child or a young teen wants to transition and that parent helps them transition, they transition in an attempt to lower their depression or get rid of their depression.
Okay.
Turns out that it actually only made it worse. That's actually what we're seeing nowadays, is their depression is getting worse and the suicide rates are actually going up.
So
going back. That's where I'm saying I feel like we are in a mental health crisis.
Right.
And we have been for the last 3.5 years. I mean, obviously mental health has always been an issue, but in this last 3 years, mental health is a fucking pandemic right now.
So I'm gonna go down kind of a rabbit hole here, but my number one question is the same question I asked. So you gonna tell that parent how to parent?
I'm gonna say stop being a fucking psycho. There's only two genders. And your kid has mental issues, so you should take care of them.
You will never win. You're never gonna win. You're never gonna tell a parent how to parent.
Chances are it'll be against a fucking liberal that has pink hair, and she's gonna start screaming in my face, calling me a bigot.
I got one just to play the
you know what? I don't care. I'm gonna be like
just to play the devil's advocate here. And to be fair, I stand behind what you said about like God doesn't make mistakes, but that doesn't mean that there isn't questions.
What made me that there's two genders. God doesn't make mistakes.
No, I know what you meant by that, and I'm going to tie right into that. What if you're born a hermaphrodite? Should you be able to pick your gender?
Should somebody be able to pick it for you?
Is that both sex, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like you have both sets of genitalia.
Yeah.
Then what?
You're
from a God standpoint, and from the perspective of a doctor or a teacher or whatever,
right?
Like what? Like should, because I know someone personally here locally. It was a kid that grew up with as a family friend of my brother's.
That's a one-off though.
But they got to choose.
You don't.
And for some reason, like, and I don't know if even for some reason it's the right thing to say, but I stand by that. If you're born with both, and you feel you stand in one direction more than the other and you want to choose which one you are, then I think that's fucking fair. Because I couldn't even imagine living with that to begin with, bro. But you should be allowed then to say, you know what? I get to choose right now because I actually have both sets of genitalia and I get to fucking choose which one I believe I am.
Dude, I used to feel like a girl when I was younger.
Oh, here we go. See?
I used to watch like...
But that's proof and evidence of it was just a mental health problem that he grew out of eventually.
I grew out of it. Now I'm looking at me. Twisted Steel and Sex
Imagine if you would have chopped that shit off when you were there.
Snapping necks and clapping cheeks.
Lord Jesus. You know that took him like 15 years to come up with.
Yeah. He has to stop saying it since.
What's up, son? Wait, you see what I'm talking about, right?
I do get it, but I always...
You as a father that put his kids in St. John's Catholic school.
I did.
Which is the same school I went to.
I did.
You are a perfect person to also believe that God does not make mistakes.
But I'm not even Catholic, and I gave my kids choice. You know what I mean? Yep. I gave my kids choice.
So why did you put them in a Catholic school?
Oh, it was the factor of there was a few factors. Number one, and I don't hide from this at all, because like a lot of people have asked me, like, you're a public school teacher, why would you put your kids in private school, right? So in Wahpeton, you know that there's a network.
Are you racist? Are you saying that there's a lot of racism in Wahpeton?
Hell no.
What do you mean? Network?
No, I mean that Wahpeton is a he did get me right there. Wahpeton in general. Wahpeton in general, one of my things when I ran was that Wahpeton is a hard place to break into.
Okay.
It's hard to establish yourself in Wahpeton. Like the first 3 years there, I went to an event, right? And no one talked to me or my wife.
Oh, it's so sad.
No one talked.
Did you talk to anybody?
I was like, hi. And it was like, hi. And then they just kept walking.
I will say, Wahpeton is small, and Woods is a Jack Black guy.
I mean, it is what it is, but it's a very, very hard place to break in. I felt that St. John's would make that transition easier for my kids. Like if my kid knows this kid, then I would have no choice but to know that parent, right? And I can say that happens in public school too. But the other thing is there were smaller class sizes, which I loved.
Oh, yeah.
I looked at some of the academics, what was going on. I looked at some of the field trips. There's a lot. And not saying that the teachers in the public schools are lesser, but if a person wanted to go on a field trip, it's a bigger deal in a public school than it is in a private school.
Sure.
And that's the reason why. That's it. It wasn't because of lack of education. It wasn't because the teachers are better at one school than the other. It was just a number of factors, and we just said, you know what, that's what's best for our family. I make no apologies about that. Like, my children are not martyrs. They will get everything that I can afford for them, which is why I'm going back and forth to Grand Forks and back to Wahpeton and doing all this other stuff, because like I need to raise champions. Yeah. And so whether that's in sports or in life, I need to raise champions. And so what I rest my hat on all the time is education, hard work, and choice. And that's it. If my kid comes home and says that he or she is transgender,
they're fucked.
They're not getting kicked out of the house. Like that's when they need you. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's when they need you. Yeah. So when you talk about mental health and stuff, there's a gamut of things you have to look at. What does that kid's support system look like? And that's why I said, I think men need to stand up. I think there needs to be more mentorship so that people can define who they are and who they want to be.
I think you're right. What I've been seeing, at least, is either A, there is no dad in the picture, or B, the dad is a fucking beta, and he's not a man. You know what I mean? Like, he's just
there's also C, which is the social welfare system,
right?
Which awarded mothers for not having fathers in the household to begin with for decades, right? So that's another factor that plays into this on a huge scale too. So
when you're looking at all those mental health things, you put all those things and then put 2020 on it. I mean, we're not going to recover for another 5 years.
John was right.
We'll never come back.
It's going to be hard. Yeah, I mean, you can. Here's what I kind of laugh about with my oldest. I said, here's the thing. You are going to be sitting in a rocking chair, and your grandchild is going to say, "Tell me about 2020."
Yeah.
And I hope to God I know what your history book looks like when they define 2020. Because it's not going to be the truth.
No.
It's not going to be the truth at all.
No.
And so that's how I look at certain things. 9/11. I mean, I was just reading something today that said, I'm so sad for children that don't know what it was like before 9/11, that don't know that you could have taken your loved one to the gate, kissed them goodbye, and they got on a plane. And now we have to go through security or whatever. So the reason why I bring those things up is, this is what our children are going through. And if they don't, that plus the identity plus all these other things, if they don't realize, if they don't have anybody, I mean, was the most powerful thing between both of us was that you could shoot shit with us and we would give you the truth, whether you liked it or not.
Yeah.
I mean, that's your podcast. You know what I mean? Like, we're just giving it to each other, you know? And so when a child doesn't have that, that is the difference between a successful child and a non-successful child. Point blank.
Yeah. That's actually really funny that you brought that up because I have some statistics here.
You know, I'm proud of him because usually he'd be spouting shit off. He ain't got no kind of data, but now he got statistics.
He's been wanting this with you for a minute.
Good.
So,
Good.
That actually checks out. So currently there is the Asian community has the most billionaires in, I believe, the world. And so this statistic is percentage of children living absent their biological fathers.
Yeah.
Black children, 64%, Hispanic, 42%, white children, 24%, and Asian children, 16%.
Yep.
So does a correlation meet with father being in the home? And like the Asian community is obviously killing it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that was Candace Owens' big thing.
I read that book. Did you read that book?
I didn't read it yet. I'm going to.
I'll give it to you.
I'm reading David Goggins right now. So
good one.
But so I know that you read that book.
Yep.
See, my son read that book when he was 15. That's all I'm parenting.
Yeah.
Yo, that's
this is
dope.
David's
He
second.
read Goggins when he was 15.
This is the
bro.
second one that just came out a little bit ago.
Dope.
But I know you caught a lot of fucking.
Oh, yeah.
Woods got a lot of liberals on his Facebook, so he caught a lot of heat when he posted a picture saying, "I'm reading this book."
I do it on purpose.
Yeah.
And
Good for you.
So just going by this, now we know for a fact, right?
Yep.
Those are facts.
Those are facts.
That the black community has less fathers in the home. And so how do you
like what year was that though?
I don't know.
Because I'm always
I just saw this.
I'm a little leery of that because it's like there's a lot more black males in the home. And then
Usually they're married to white women though.
I tried to move on. I'm like, oh crap, here we go. Like someone back home's gonna hear this and be like, yeah, he got himself a white girl, didn't he?
Would you sell out?
Oh shit.
No, I just, you know, yeah. I mean, I can't refute the evidence. I don't think it's as high as what it is, whatever. But I'm never going to refute that evidence because I live it every day when I go to school. And when my friends go to school, when their children go to school, they live that every day. I have a lot of teacher friends, professor friends. We see the effects of that like 20-fold. And we can go down that road. It's a totally different subject of like how that started. And that started with the government, which I hate that statement, but it did, you know, taking black fathers out of the home, but Hispanic fathers
Keeping
out of
them
the
in
home as
welfare,
well, keeping them in
poor.
welfare, keeping them.
I mean, I spent 3 years in DC. We talked about this.
We talked about,
like
yes.
Every township that has the name Heights in it is a shithole.
Or Martin Luther King Boulevard. No one walks down that boulevard.
And only black
State
people
to
live
state,
there.
you'll find that
Right.
name in all the impoverished
And
areas.
that's purposeful,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Gentrification and all this other stuff. It's all purposeful.
It's gaslighting and virtue signaling and just trying to make sure you stay
Yep.
put.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Meanwhile, we're giving billions and trillions to
Yep.
other countries to help them with their same issues.
But we're taking two poor people and saying that this Asian person is taking over your black jobs and now they're fighting. Yeah.
So
Dead. You got that
Washington,
right.
D.C., Philadelphia,
Yep.
Chicago,
Yep.
L.A.,
Yep.
they're all Democrat-run cities.
Yep.
They're all shitholes. Everybody there is in poverty,
I
right?
forgot Minnesota.
Minneapolis.
Okay.
So why do black people keep still voting for the same goddamn people? Like, AKA Democrats.
Wait, hold on. So I got to stop you because you're saying that all black people are Democrats.
Not all, but the majority of black people vote blue.
See, here's the thing with that. I can't answer that because I don't believe the statement. Like, I don't believe that. I believe that, you know. Okay,
if you don't vote for me, you ain't black.
Yeah. I was just going to go on that. But here's what I'll tell you. So it's one of those things that if we keep you in the box, just what we said, gentrification, all those things, if we keep you in the box and you don't know any better.
Throwing little breadcrumbs here and there.
Right. Then you don't know any better. And so there's a lot of black people. There's a lot of minorities in general that have beliefs, and they do have conservative beliefs. Right?
There's also a lot of minorities who can't vote, and therefore they're really easy to make it look like they've been the majority vote.
Louisiana.
Yep.
Right? Louisiana. That we found that out with Hurricane Katrina. Like, what are you doing? Like the Ninth Ward, you're just carving it out just so it can benefit you. I mean, this happens all the time. And I'm going to tell you something. It's my fear for Fargo. It's my fear for Fargo because what I'm seeing in Fargo is unreal right now. It's unprecedented. I'm seeing a group of people come in for the American dream, and then I'm seeing a separate group say like, yeah, you need to assimilate or you need to get out of here, which is kind of down the line of what I said, right? You need to assimilate or you need to get out of here instead of including them in the cultural beliefs. I mean, both sides can win. It's not pie. I mean, look at me. I came from a Democratic family. I did. And that's how I grew up. And I didn't know any better. Right? Now, when you say God makes mistakes, the injury that God put on me my senior year that led me to Valley City State University, I thank God every day for that injury, right? Because it led me here. And here is where I saw a different way of living. So we got people in Fargo coming in that are not being shown a different way of living. Some of them don't want to see it. I get that. There's a bad element and all. But we have people that are saying like, we don't want that. And I'm like, hold on. That kid is foundation aid for your schools. If that family buys property, that's property tax for your school. Wait a minute. Those families are making businesses, restaurants, and things like that. You know, they're living the American dream, but we're not including them. We're separating them.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by we're separating them?
I mean, when you have people, when a black face comes up on a forum and the comment is,
go figure.
Yeah.
Typical.
Of
course it was. Look at this. What do they say? Look at this good citizen. You know, all the
model citizen.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when that happens,
I fucking hate when I see that shit, man. It's Valley News Live and Inform are the worst for that shit.
It's the worst. And they know what they're doing. They were told about that.
Yeah.
So they're complicit.
I fucking hate those.
They're complicit in totally dividing the community. When you say like, well, freedom of speech or whatever, and you're including even hidden hate speech, I mean, we got a problem because people digest that and then they're like, okay, and then it plants a seed. And then something else will happen and the seed grows. And then something else will happen. And next thing you know, that's how this thing grows, where it's like, nah, y'all got to stay in your own neighborhoods. We're good. Don't come here with that.
Well, don't you think, just to play the devil's advocate, it's the same when you see a successful, wealthy white family or a rich person and it's a white dude and they're just like, oh, this person just became the rich one. They're like, of course he's fucking white. Of course he's Asian. Like, it goes all ways.
It does.
It's a matter of what we put the most emphasis on because of what we're feeling most offended by.
Right.
Yeah.
So a good example, people who died in that submarine, right?
Yeah.
Do you see the comments on that?
Oh yeah,
your lily white ass is going to spend $215,000. That's
only white people would do some shit like that.
Yeah, would do that. That's what your ass get. You know what I mean? So you're exactly right.
Yeah.
It's how we want to look at things. And I mean, all I can speak from is my childhood. You know what I mean? And it's not. I went from Democrat to more conservative. It's not right. It's not wrong. It's just I found a new environment and my beliefs just changed.
It's like nowadays it's either we got fucking liberals, Democrat, obviously fucking crazy motherfuckers, and you got these corrupt ass Republicans over here. And we have to find somewhere in the middle to meet.
But see, look how you
we have to stop siding with government is the problem.
Amen. Because
we need to get amongst each other and say they're the enemy of us right now.
That's the key. Because look how you even described it. You said fucking crazy Democrats and corrupt Republicans. To be corrupt, you got to have shit. So you're saying that these people have shit to be corrupt about. You know what I mean?
They all do.
These people
look how much money Nancy Pelosi, Dan Crenshaw.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. So we have to be careful with our words because they promote a characterization.
You might not like Trump, but he actually lost money when he was a president. He actually lost money.
What do you mean?
His net worth.
His net worth went down.
His net went to $2 billion.
Well, he had to.
Well,
he had to give up some shit because it was a conflict of interest.
Yeah, but why is he? why is Nancy Pelosi worth over $100 million?
Well, here's the other thing.
How come that's not a conflict of interest?
We got to stop promoting stupid people.
Yeah.
Because we have never. I actually thought about this on the way.
I don't think we're doing it though. I think they're just illegally fixing races and voting systems.
But why do we vote? Why don't we ever vote for the average Joe?
Because they can't get in.
Right. So here's what happens. They get in and then they get these PACs and the PACs give them this war chest. And even when they lose, toe the line. And even when they lose, they get to keep their war chest.
Yeah.
If you ran for president right now, millionaire. Mm-hmm. You will be a millionaire. See, you will be poor and then be a millionaire.
Trump has a lot of faults, but that is why I like him, is because he basically put his middle finger up to all of the establishment in DC and said, fuck you, I'm doing it this way.
Yeah.
And that's why they're trying so hard to take him down. And this whole Trump is racist is bullshit. I don't believe a fucking word.
That's because we talked about that. That's because you're not old enough to remember Trump of New York. Trump of New York was a different dude. Trump of New York was kicking black folks out of houses illegally, out of apartment buildings
Trump
illegally.
Himself or Trump
himself.
You can't tell me that Trump went down there and was like, "Hey, kick these people out."
Yeah, the guy has ways to do it.
The guy has hundreds of businesses.
There's ways to do it.
So you're saying that Trump back then was racist?
I'd be curious to because I'm not familiar with that, which doesn't mean it's not true, but I remember from where I come from in the West Coast, Trump being praised and glorified by black culture.
Right.
I mean, he was in rap songs up until he fucking ran for president.
And that was the thing. So I was in New York in the 80s. So we'll say 84, 85, 86. And I remember Trump. I mean, Trump had his own candy bar. I mean, you could see him flying around New York and stuff like that. So I thought man, that's the life, right? This dude got it. And then people started telling me okay, but you have to look at how he acquired some of those properties. And it was by getting those people out, raising the rent on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like how we got America.
Yeah. It's exactly right. I mean, that's how you do it, you know? And in order to get rich, someone has to be laying on the street.
That doesn't sound like racism, though. To me, it sounds like he's just trying to.
I didn't say it was totally racism, but I'm saying that's
what they painted him as from the day he started running. They painted him as a racist. He hates everybody but white people.
Here's the thing about racism. Here's the thing about racism.
Isn't Trump Jewish?
Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's Jew.
Here's the thing about racism. The word. It's just like CRT.
Oh, I get it. It gets
like
thrown
people
around.
throw that around
like fucking candy.
And is he a sexist? Is he a bigot? Yeah. Is he?
If back then, if they say that he was racist because he did all that stuff, what about Joe Biden that sponsored the 1984 crime bill?
Biden? Are you kidding me right now? That's proof.
He says that he doesn't want to raise his kids in a racial jungle. Then
and I don't even think, Cody. I don't think that when it comes to that side of it, I don't think that people are non-believers of it. I just think that we know because we researched.
Oh, yeah.
The media is not letting that side of the story and that narrative get to the people. You know what I mean? So it's not so much that everyone is just ignoring the fact that Joe Biden was this person or is this person. It's that the message isn't getting to people that need to know about it because unlike us, most people aren't digging into the rabbit holes and doing the research and following the conspiracy pages that have the video evidence of all this stuff. Yeah. Most people are just relying on mainstream media to say, hey, this is the narrative. And they're like, yeah, okay, Joe's fine. It's Trump who's the motherfucking racist.
Instant gratification. I mean, I cannot believe that everyone forgot what you just said. Like, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. It was like, I mean, I was mowing my lawn and I go, damn.
Yeah, but motherfuckers voted for him anyway.
I was like, lost it. He just lost the election.
But did they vote for him?
We won't talk about wait, we can't talk about it on YouTube. Never mind.
Okay, so here's another thing too, like to get into that. So, Chick-fil-A fans,
love it.
Right, godly man.
I had it today.
Yeah. So he just recently came out and started saying that white people should be cleaning the shoes of every black person they run into to apologize for their history.
Yeah.
The owner of Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
You know what
are we going to cancel Chick-fil-A?
You know what the fix to that is?
I don't like Chick-fil-A anyways.
Because you stupid. You know what the
Slim Chicken is better.
No. You were a Chick-fil-A fucking freak before. What happened?
Dude, I've been there probably 4 times.
4 times.
Slim Chicken is better. I'm telling you.
Okay. I'm going to have to go there tomorrow.
It ain't like that. It's good, but it ain't like it ain't Chick-fil-A.
I'm going to have to go there tomorrow. But here's the thing. Like, the fix, those are...
Why is it always white people? Why is it always white people?
Those are easy fixes. Like,
in what sense? Let me say too that when he did this, he did it at the foot of Lecrae.
Did he really?
The rapper, yeah.
Did he
did it
really?
at the foot of Lecrae, and Lecrae sat there and
like washing his feet
instead of
I would not let him in. I would not.
No way. It's an
insult.
insult.
No, it's
fucking insult.
That is an insult to me as well. The simple fix to that is, cancel that shit because he's a capitalist. So like, stop eating Chick-fil-A. Yeah. You know what I mean?
But see, I don't believe in cancel culture either.
But
so then I get into this
dollar. Your dollar, it's different. It's not cancel culture when we're talking about commerce and things like that.
You can go spend your dollars at Slim Chicken.
You go spend your dollars at Slim Chicken. Like I don't mess around with that.
Instead of shopping at Target, you go to Walmart.
You go to Walmart, whatever. And that's realistically
that's better.
That is the loudest. That's the loudest voice, isn't it?
But it is actually working though, because if you with Starbucks, they even had to take down all their LGBT shit because they were getting fucking nailed with people not buying their coffee. And then same thing with Target. They had to take all the children's like the tuck swimsuits. They had to take them off display because they were getting killed. And so now, of course, Bud Light is trying to come out with this patriotic fucking. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you could spend your money elsewhere, and they're gonna feel that. Yeah. They're gonna feel that for sure. Like Modelo overtook Bud Light. Now they're like the #1 selling beer in the United States.
I mean, that was coming. Everybody knew that was coming.
So that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do to make these companies. Hey, I'm not gonna fucking buy your shit. I'm just gonna go buy your competitor's shit.
Right.
You know.
And that I mean, you don't buy their chicken, they feel it. So but they're like a Southern company though. Yeah.
So here's my issue with that, and I do think that not spending your money there is similar to cancel culture.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're holding your neighbors, your friends, your relatives, who are all employees of these major corporations, accountable for the actions of one stupid ass at top.
Oh, I get that.
So now,
why is everybody else
you're destroying people's jobs. Yeah. You're putting more people into poverty.
Get rid of the stupid ass.
So that's the issue with doing stuff like that. That I fear is like they're getting their way still. They want us to destroy these companies because then, like we've talked about before, if they're gone, if there's no Targets, there's no Walmarts, there's no big corporations like Amazons and stuff. Because on both sides now, we've decided cancel culture should be a fucking thing. Now who provides? The state.
The state.
And now we're fucked, right? If we have to rely on the government to take care of us, we've fallen into their trap.
It just leaves room for somebody else to come up.
Well, if there's somebody else coming up, which there is. I just registered the gym and H&I with publicsquare.com.
Okay.
Public Square is a website filled with otherwise like patriotic and no BS kind of businesses
made in America.
Made in America. We're highlighting those businesses at Public Square, and there's a whole bunch of pro-American businesses there.
See, everybody, even you with that, everybody's going to play to their market or their beliefs. You know what I mean? Yeah. So will you lose customers because you did that? Most likely not, because those beliefs align with the fabric of North Dakota.
I'm on every avenue.
Right.
Like I said, I don't want to get into the whole cancel culture thing by saying, well, I'm not going to support that, because it's not just the person who owns the company or who's the CEO of that company that you're affecting when you do that. Now we're affecting our neighbors. There's patriotic people who love America and do things otherwise the right way that work for Bud Light and work for Target corporations and work for Walmarts and Amazons. So it's really hard to find the middle ground where we're not just becoming like the other people that we are upset with.
And I would only have a problem with how you believe in its practice, because then I would say, okay, well, what if this company believes in something that you totally do not believe in?
Then you got to quit.
Right.
Yeah. Go find a new job.
So you got to find a new job.
If we're going to do stuff like that, that's where it should start, right? Somebody should be running some kind of committee to go into Chick-fil-A's and say, hey, get me in touch with all the employees of all Chick-fil-A's across the board, and we're going to help find these people new jobs.
See, that's how they're in that, you're kind of eating at capitalism. You're eating at which
I think there's a place for capitalism.
Yeah, but if somebody wants to be a publicly traded company, then they have to have a board of directors, and that board of directors will oversee everything. So somebody says, I want to just say whatever I want to say. So I'm not going to be publicly traded. I am a private company. I'm a private person, and I will say whatever I want. So it's to me, it's like this constant juggle. And you probably have your system and you're able to manage that. I would not be able to manage that. I'm not saying that because partially I don't believe that my powerful dollar equals cancel culture. You made a good point, and I can see your point, but that's just not where.
Because when you lose $10 billion, $9 billion, jobs get lost, people get fired, laid off, all that stuff. So now we've done more damage than we probably want to some good American people who have good belief systems because of the decision that one dumbass made. Yeah. Just and it's the same thing. Like even Bud Light's trying to claim is like, look, the person that made that decision to have a tranny come in and be their mascot never had approval to do that, went and did it without their knowledge and made a run for it. There's a lot of big companies coming out and saying, yo, that could happen at my business any day of the week and I wouldn't stand by it. But before I found out about it, that shit would be fucking worldwide.
Hopefully,
you know what I mean? So like it's not always the fault of that one specific person too. So there's always so much. And I think to bring us to a close, because we're almost at an hour and a half now, I think that's what we got to start paying attention to is like, there's a lot more to it than just saying fuck that situation. And I think this is more in your favor because the way you've been talking today, but like we can't just go fuck that as a blanket policy.
Right.
Fuck that person, fuck that agenda. We have to start saying, okay, if we really care and we really give a fuck, how are we going to attack this to make it right or to offset that situation and not destroy and hurt more people in the process when that's what we're opposed to in the first place. You know what I mean? So it gets really convoluted when you start having to dissect the real way to go about this shit. So
hopefully they make these companies start being more patriotic now too.
I mean, amen to that. I'm all.
I think it's patriotic to just accept other people in this country for who they are, as long as they support what this country is first, right?
Yep. And who you are.
Right. Like the fact that they were able to come here and set up shop and start a new life and in some case scenarios run from the wars in their nations to come here and find safety, should say to them, hey, you should come here and you should appreciate the values that America has. You should respect the flag. You know, not right now it's racist to be patriotic and to love the flag, and they're taking it down all over the place. And, you know, there's all this weird stuff happening. So, but I think that a lot of this, and I mean this genuinely and sincerely, the hate and the division and shit that we're seeing, this is what they wanted. Yeah. This is what they wanted. We're all being set up, and the more that we feed into it and eat that shit up, man, the worse that it gets, and that's what they want.
And there are people that is their sole job. Mm-hmm. I mean, they are behind the keyboard right now, and they want to stir up trouble.
Yeah, and I use bots and shit too.
And I think that's what John, whatever, I can't remember his name, but anyway, I think that's what he meant by good trouble. I mean, good trouble is opposing things that you see unjust. Mm-hmm. That's good trouble.
Yeah.
I think he never knew it, but bad trouble is sitting behind a keyboard and just stirring the pot.
Yeah.
And I don't think he ever John Lewis says good trouble, and I use that term all the time, like good trouble, good trouble, good trouble. And even when it comes to flag issues, but that's a different subject. But I think stirring up good trouble is awesome. I think questioning the vote is awesome. I think, you know what I mean? I think all
transparency.
That, yeah, transparency and like.
So it's not racist to require an ID to vote.
Hold on. That's a little more convoluted because we just talked about Louisiana and what they're doing down there, and in Georgia what they're doing down there.
An identification.
I think if
not a driver's license, identification.
I think if you had a card or something, if you had like a government issued whatever identification,
yes,
I think that's fine. The problem is that those aren't being given. Those are being given. Those like they'll say like, oh, you're too old. Oh, my hospital burned down. Oh, the hospital you were born in 1912. Sorry, you can't vote. Like they literally do stuff like that.
Or the same concept of for example, the crime bill.
Right.
That takes people's privilege away from them.
Felons
to be able to
can't vote.
You know, we're seeing that change a lot in a lot of places right now, little by little. But you know, so yeah, I think there's just a lot of there's a lot of static in the way of what we're trying to see clearly. You know what I mean? Like there's a whole lot of static in view right now, and we have to be really careful how we approach this. And I'll tell you right now, Cody, then this is just me being real. When I got away, because the one thing I've done in this last like year is I've cut my social media off. I got the fuck off Instagram and Facebook on and personal shit like that for social media. I just keep it to the business side of things. I got a lot more clarity when I wasn't in the smoke. I stepped back and I can look, and now I'm getting a little more clarity now. And now I'm able to say, okay, holy fuck, I was way over the top in the beginning because I was so angry at all these issues, and I was heightened, and I was seeing things confirming the stuff that was making me angry. When I was able to step back, I got a little more balance, and I was like, okay, wait a minute. There's a better way to approach all this.
That was me in 2021.
Yeah.
I was listening to too much news. Yeah. I was looking at too many videos at night.
Yeah.
That was 100% me.
Yeah.
In 2021.
When you step away from that shit, you get so much more clarity, and then you find more of a balance, and I think you can see things a little bit more fairly and respectfully from both sides. Yeah. For sure.
Before we close out, I got a question.
Here we go.
You. 2024, Trump or Biden? Who you voting for?
Independent.
Okay. So I know you can't answer, but what do you think? Real quick,
you're gonna vote for Burgum?
You know what? I like his ideas. I really do.
Dude,
I like it.
That's weird as fuck.
Okay? I like his ideas.
What do you think? Have you been paying attention to Robert F. Kennedy?
I just looked at a video yesterday.
Do you know anything about him?
Not really.
Okay, so
I know he has a scruffy voice and it's painful to listen to.
Yeah, I actually feel bad for him. But long story short, he's John F. Kennedy's nephew.
Yeah.
And they painted him as a crazy person because they thought he was like a tree hugger that's against vaccines. But he came out and laid out all these different facts, and he's just fucking crushing it right now, especially after COVID. He's just like fucking destroying big pharma and everything. So he's running for president on the Democrat side. Yeah, he's running as a Democrat, but they're never gonna let him.
Yeah, he doesn't have a chance in hell.
They'll never primary his
I know
ass.
that he doesn't have a chance in hell. Number one, he's a Kennedy, and they don't want to vote. They don't want to vote any other Kennedys in.
They'll never.
They just don't.
So if I had to vote another Democrat, it would be Robert F. Kennedy, because I've listened to a lot of his shit. And that guy seems like very, very one for the people.
But to John's note, I would challenge you to listen to the other side's shit too.
Who, Joe Biden?
Listen to his shit.
Dude, I'm not listening to shit Joe Biden says.
Because that
you can't understand a fucking word he says. He can't put two sentences together.
I can't fight that. Okay.
And his vice president's a fucking retard.
But when I said I get clarity, I didn't necessarily mean I agree with Joe Biden.
Right.
No, what I meant was I still think Joe Biden's a fucktard, right? I genuinely do. I can't believe he's even standing president and has the ability to run again, and that people are taking it serious. What I mean is that I've been able to step back a lot more and not be as radical as I was about my position and where I stand, and I can get more clarity to say, you know what, I was overboard in some sense of this, and I do see neutral ground a lot more than I used to. Before I was like, there is no fucking neutral ground.
Right.
You're wrong. This is bullshit.
Right.
But and even in this conversation with you, I gotta admit you've given a little bit more neutral ground and clarity in my understanding, because you have an interesting perspective. Which I respect fully, but I also think it's a really mature perspective. So
that's why I wanted you.
Yeah. I just the change for me was the Candace Owens book thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, they went after me. Like, people went after me, and I thought
that gave you clarity. Huh?
It was like, what is the big? Now I really want to read it. So then I read it, and then I was like, oh my God, I'm starting to align with some of this shit. Like, this makes sense.
It's mostly people who hate it is because they're afraid of it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Or they're just miseducated on it.
They haven't read anything. They haven't listened to anything she's talking about.
Yeah. No, because one of their favorite other people opposed her. And so they ran with that. Like fairly I used to do prior to taking a social media break.
John used to think I was racist, dude.
Fuck yeah.
I mean,
and I tell that story all the time, though. That's another, like what you're saying is, pre-COVID, I thought all these motherfuckers in my gym were racist because they were supporting Trump.
Right.
And I was like, wait a minute, though. The media, everyone's saying he's fucking racist. He does this. He made this statement about Mexicans and tacos, and and I'm getting all pissed off and shit. So I'm going, and then my father-in-law and my brother-in-law are Trump stickers on their trucks and shit. And I'm telling my wife, they know who the fuck you're married to. I'm getting pissed off, bro. So literally, I wanted to go, and I know a lot of people heard this story already, but I wanted to go and find an arsenal of shit to come and get down their throats about. And while I was researching all that shit, I found the real videos that weren't edited and realized that none of that narrative was true.
Right.
The stuff where they were painting him a racist and painting him this bigot and he's saying all these things were cut and edited videos. When I found the real ones and the transcripts and all that other shit, I started going, wait a minute, this motherfucker's dope.
Like his
policies and his love for America and shit was real. And that's all I cared about, man. It's like, I live in America. I am mixed, but I love this country. I was born and raised in this country. I have personally, when I used to believe that this country didn't love me back and had no opportunity for me, and then I left California like you did, got perspective here in North Dakota, I realized that I was just being fucking lazy, and that it was a top trait to be fucking lazy.
Right.
And that if I just put my foot forward and started making some moves and trying to do things, I could build anything I wanted, and hence here we are today on my podcast.
Right.
So
that's a good way to end this. Yeah,
it's all bullshit, man, and we just gotta clear the static, get some better perspective, and be a little bit more realistic about our neighbors.
100%.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, dog. I love you.
Yeah.
No, I love coming here.
It's cool having you on for sure. We'll do it some more, man.
All right.
We've been on for a good hour and a half now, so we're going to go ahead and kill this. I appreciate everybody listening. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, tell your friends about us, good or bad, whatever you do, just make sure you talk. We are out.